So in today's video I'm just going to have a little show and tell of what I received for Christmas. I've got to be honest, there's not a lot of very exciting items. Not for you lot anyway, more for me. So this Christmas kind of crept up on all of us a little bit in our house, to the point where we were still buying presents about 3 days before Christmas, which has never happened before. Just really wasn't feeling it this year. In the past I've been quite looking forward to certain gifts and to the food and the drink. The one thing we did do this year that we don't normally do is we had a lot of family time together, from like Christmas Eve to New Year's Eve. We spent about 6 evenings, I think about 6, playing different party games. We had some darts evenings where we played darts. We had a couple of nights where we played cards, did some quizzes, had a lot to drink. But this year I got some things I really enjoyed that in the past I'd be like, whatever. So all this will be books that I'll be showing you today. They're all books I asked for Christmas. I did actually get this cup off my wife though, which I love because it reminds me of school teacher cups. When I was in school, the teachers would always have a big old cup of coffee, and this cup reminds me a little bit of that. It's quite a heavy cup, and it's my new favourite one for my morning coffees. Pop that to the side. Yeah, so one of the probably the cheapest items I received, but has become one of my favourite. What would be interesting to any of you all, but it's these headbands. So my hair's grown quite a bit over the last year. I've been growing it out quite a bit, and these headbands really help keep the hair out of my face, because there's nothing more worse or more annoying than when your hair is in your face, if your hair's a bit long. So yeah, I got these headbands off my wife, which I was like, at first I said, what the hell are they? I couldn't work it out. She said it's a headband. I was like, yes, that's amazing. Anyways, let me show you the books that I received. I'm going to move the microphone down slightly. If you can see it on the camera, I apologise, but it's better for the audio. There we go. Also, the lighting is awful today because the ring light, my £120 ring light, has broken. I'm not sure if it's the light or the plug. I need to figure that sort of thing out and get it fixed. So we have, I don't know, quite a few books here that I got this Christmas. I ain't complaining. First we have Peter Shermichael 1. This is Peter Shermichael's autobiography. In my life, growing up anyway, growing up, Shermichael was Manchester United's #1 goalkeeper, and in my opinion, probably the best goalkeeper Man United have ever had. With Van der Sar a close second. But he was a great keeper, Shermichael was. And yeah, I've not read this book yet. The book I'm currently reading, I forgot to bring down to show you all. It is Paul Merson's autobiography called Hooked. And it's basically all about how his addictions took over his career. He had a gambling addiction, a drinking addiction, and also out separately. And Paul Merson would ring up his friend and say, look, I'll pick a box, and they'd both pick a box on the TV, and the one that had the most money in at the end was the winner, and the loser had to pay the winner £1,000 a day. How bonkers can you get? Right, we're going to read the insert on this book. Why me? How could a boy from a Copenhagen tower block say, I want to be a champion with Man United and Denmark and make it happen? Peter Schmeichel is a giant of football who won more Premier League titles, 5, than any player in his position, and captained Man United in the incomparable last gasp treble clinching win over Bayern Munich in 1999. I don't believe a better goalkeeper played the game, Sir Alex Ferguson said. In this book, he takes us inside the remarkable winning environment of a club that transformed football during the 1990s and onto the pitch on that crazy, breathless night in Barcelona in '99. From Ferguson's unique gifts to Eric Cantona's unique personality, he delivers a close-up and insightful portrait of United's golden era. So I'm really looking forward to reading this. When I seen he had a book coming out, I was like, I want that for Christmas. I think my mum bought me this. So I, off the top of my head, cannot think of a father-son combination in football that have been more successful. There is the Lampards, but from my knowledge, Frank Lampard's dad wasn't so successful as a footballer. Not as successful as Peter Schmeichel anyway. And then you got his son Casper, who has won a Premier League with Leicester and the FA Cup with Leicester, which when you consider it's Leicester City, that's pretty impressive. And his son is also the Denmark #1 goalkeeper now as well. The next book we have is The Crazy Gang. Now this has been out, I didn't know this was ever out, I thought it was a new book, but it turns out it's been out a while. So, these days, AFC Wimbledon are in League 2, I believe, or is it League 1, I always forget. I apologise if you're a fan of them. And they used to be Wimbledon in the Premier League when I was a young lad. They had such players as John Hartson, Dean Holdsworth, Chris Perry, Jason Ewell, Robbie Earle, Vinnie Jones. They had a right collection of players of all talents. They had a lad who went to play for Liverpool and Tottenham called Øyvind Leonardsen. They had a useful team. Neil Sullivan was their goalkeeper. And they were called the Crazy Gang. They were subsequently relegated from the Premier League. Then they were going to a bit of a mess and were renamed MK Dons. So saying AFC Wimbledon, I apologise, I got that wrong. MK Dons were originally Wimbledon. They changed name to MK Dons, Milton Keynes Dons. The AFC Wimbledon were a team, I think it was the fans split off, like FC United did with Man United when the Glazers took over. And AFC Wimbledon was formed, and that is like the fans' true Wimbledon, whereas MK Dons is the original Wimbledon, if you know what I'm saying. So this is the true story of football's greatest miracle. Dave Bassett and Wally Downs and the rest of the Crazy Gang. When Wimbledon, look at them all showing their arses on the back. When Wimbledon shocked the world by beating Liverpool in the FA Cup final in 1988, the moment was crowned with the immortal line, "The astonishing football story. 1 year before, the Dons with the smallest gates, the worst paid players, the most appalling facilities had gone from non-league football to the top of the first division. Manager Dave Harry Bassett and Wimbledon legend Wally Downs have now assembled an amazing cast of characters to a man to tell their version of the extraordinary events that forged the crazy gang team spirit. Packed full of mischief making, hijinks and pitch battles, it is quite simply the most entertaining football book you'll ever read. I can't wait to read this. I think this will be my next book to read, in all honesty. Next, we take a break from the sports side of my books. Yes, I know the sticker is still on there, and it was a Christmas gift, but I was there when it was bought. I actually picked this up for myself. The missus said, you know, if you want it, you might as well get it whilst we're up the town. So I found this in the works for £12, and this is Faru, the Keyhole, Diaries of a Grounded Documentary Maker by Louis Faru. I love Louis Faru. Love his documentaries. Over the years they've become a bit more serious and more grown up, I guess you could say, covering Scientology, etc. He's currently making a documentary about Joe Exotic, who he's featured in a documentary in the past. And this is a book he wrote whilst in lockdown. Come round to Louis Faru's house, where the much-loved TV documentary maker and newbie podcaster finds himself in unexpected danger. Like millions of others, Louis' plans were mothballed by the onset of COVID. Unable to escape to the porn sets, prisons and maximum security psychiatric units that are his usual journalistic beat, he began reporting on a location even more full of pitfalls and hostile objects of inquiry, his own home during a pandemic. Faru, the Keyhole, is an honest, hilarious and ultimately heartwarming diary of the weirdness of family life in COVID world. A wife intolerant of his obsession with Joe Wicks' daily workouts. 2 teenage sons inseparable from their video games, to whom he is increasingly cringe. A 5-year-old happily spamming out videos on his own new TikTok account while on holiday with his oblivious family. Louis also describes launching Grounded, which was his podcast they did during lockdown. Finally gets to the US to film a new Joe Exotic documentary and aims his sights on the latest incarnation of the far right in a world becoming radicalised by social media. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that. I read a previous book that Louis Faru wrote, and he's actually done 2 other books, I think, and I have them both, but I've only read one of them. It was where he sort of caught up with, I know one was where he caught up with some of his previous documentary people they'd done documentaries about, and the other one was like a bit of an autobiography. Sorry, that was a packet of sweets that are in the box. Next we have Rob Beckett, A Class Act. So over the last year, since I had Spotify, I've really begun to enjoy Rob Beckett. Also on his programme he does with Ramesh versus Rob Beckett is very funny. But Rob has a podcast again during lockdown. He started up with Josh Widdicombe, and he's very entertaining. This book is basically him looking back at his childhood, how he came from a working class family, but now he has a bit more money to his name, and he sort of feels guilty for doing what more middle class things in life, and he just sort of like dissects, what makes you middle class. Should you feel ashamed if you're working class? What class am I now? Can you change class? Do you have to apply? Is there a promotion and demotion system? Free trips to the dog track and you're back to working class. On the other hand, if you start dipping carrot batons into red pepper hummus, surely you should expect a call up to the middle class squad. Or is there no promotion or demotion no matter how successful or unsuccessful you become? Are you stuck in that league for life? So yeah, I only found this out the other day on a TikTok, and there was a couple of lads eating pie and mash, London way, which is what that is there, pie and mash. And then over here he has a, I don't know, maybe it's a gin and tonic with olives in there, to sort of suggest the clash between working class and middle class. I won't run to read that book, but I will eventually get to it after I've got through some of these other ones. Next we have Troy Deeney. Now, I don't know, for a few years now I've not been a massive fan of the bloke. That's a lie. 5 years ago I'd have said no, not interested. The last couple of years since he left Watford, he's done some radio work, etc, etc. He seems like a really decent bloke. I've heard interviews of him, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, I found he had a book. I thought that'd be interesting to read. Here we go. Troy Deeney is best known as Watford FC's goal-scoring captain, but behind the successful and gritty football persona is a remarkable story of resilience. While playing for Chelmsley Town, Troy caught the eye of Walsall FC's senior scout manager. But despite his lucky break, Troy struggled. He continued to push boundaries on and off the pitch, ultimately resulting in his arrest following his dad's death. Troy's career and life should have tailed off into obscurity, but a newfound determination to succeed saw him thrive. He went on to score 20 more goals in 3 consecutive seasons and led his team to the FA Cup final, impressing fans, officials and fellow players alike time and time again with his uncompromising style and all-in attitude. With passion, insight, candour, humour and courage to speak his mind, Troy Deeney is one of the most sought-after voices in football today. See, I think he went to prison for his involvement in a hit and run. I think so, or a car crash, something like that. I don't think it's a hit and run. I think it's like somebody died as a result of a car crash that he was in. I need to read the book to find out for certain. Must be interesting. Not your perfect footballer, as you might get with like a Michael Owen, etc., whose book was so frustrating to read. I read that about a year ago. He's so up his own arse, Michael Owen is, to the point where it's quite sickly. Next we have Patrice Evra. So we've already had Schmeichel's book. Now we've got Evra's book. There is another Man United player to come out with an autobiography that I have over here. Patrice Evra. I love this game, the autobiography. So he's when Evra joined Man United, he joined the same time as Nemanja Vidic, the same transfer window. But as Vidic went in and settled straight away, Evra made his debut in a battering by Liverpool. He played left back. Liverpool ripped him apart, and I think they won 4-0 or something or other. I think Evra was actually taken off midway through that game. Little did we know he'd go on to be one of Man United's best left backs. Better than Luke Shaw. Maybe not better than Dennis Irwin. I'd probably put him ahead of Gabriel Heinze. But I'd say Dennis Irwin and then Evra. Best two left backs we've had in my time as a United fan. For more than 8 years, Patrice Evra for Man United, winning trophies and plaudits alike as a key part of one of the club's greatest ever teams, playing alongside the likes of Ryan Giggs, Cristiano Ronaldo, Wayne Rooney and Paul Scholes. But as he reveals in this frank, often shocking but always compelling memoir, beneath the surface things were not so simple, and he had to fight all the way to get to the top. Initially it was football that saved him from being sucked into the gang culture of his tough neighbourhood of Les Ulis. Then, once he achieved the dream of becoming a professional, he had to deal with racism and a notorious dispute with Luis Suarez. He also became a central figure in the infamous strike by the France national team in the 2010 World Cup. And then there was the moment he launched an attack against a Marseille fan while warming up. I won't read the last bit, that's just about different players he played with and whatnot. Yeah, I'm looking forward to reading this. Interested to hear his take on the Suarez situation and also that strike whilst with the French team. Let's break up the books a little bit now. We have James Bond, No Time to Die on Blu-ray, still in its package. I would have watched this by now if I could remember what happened in the previous movies. So I've been going through them slowly. I've watched Casino Royale last week, also Quantum of Solace. I have Skyfall and Spectre to watch, then I can watch No Time to Die. The mistake I made, I couldn't remember if I had the others on Blu-ray or normal DVD. So I asked for this on Blu-ray, only to find out my others are normal DVD, so it's a bit annoying, breaks up the collection a little bit. But anyway, looking forward to watching this movie. In my opinion, the best Bond in my lifetime, Daniel Craig, hands down. Because I can only really compare him to Pierce Brosnan. Roger Daltrey, I think he was like, when I was first born, Roger Daltrey was Bond. Before that, Sean Connery, Roger Moore. But Pierce Brosnan when I was growing up. So yeah, definitely Daniel Craig over Pierce Brosnan. Okay, I'll show you my last football book now. Again, this has the sticker on because I picked it up. It was only £3. I mean, £3 in the sale for Michael Carrick's autobiography. Maybe not the most interesting footballer to ever play football because he didn't get himself into trouble, etc. But to play with the players he played with and play under Fergie for so many years, he's got some good stories. But yeah, I picked this up and I said to my missus, look, I'll have it for Christmas. So I think I actually bought this in like September. Let's read the back. These are quotes by famous people in football. Pep Guardiola, one of the best holding midfielders I've seen in my life. Arsene Wenger, I think he was one of the greatest players in English football. Giggs, a great player, a calming influence both on and off the pitch. Gary Neville, Scholes and Carrick together was peaceful, like going into a bar and hearing a piano playing. Carrick's a piano. Paul Scholes, I loved playing with him. He was like a Rolls Royce, just cruising around the football pitch. Xavi Hernandez, a complete player. Jose Mourinho, Michael is a phenomenal person and a true professional. Paul Pogba, I'm still learning from Michael. He is a mentor to me and someone I look up to. I sometimes just how good a player is or was. Carrick was that good without. He wasn't scoring 20 goals a season. He might have been getting 20 assists a season. And because he was that quiet, I guess, you didn't notice him 9 times out of 10 until he was gone. And then it's well, when are they going to replace Michael Carrick? And to be honest, I don't think we ever have so far. Next we have this book, Billy Connolly's autobiography. Unfortunately got a bit of a tear down the cover. I'm not sure how that happened. It arrived like that when I opened it. Alright, that's going to take forever to read that bit. I'll read the back to you instead. I absolutely love Billy Connolly, probably my favourite comedian of all time. My dad got me into him when I was a kid. When I was young, I couldn't really understand what the hell he was banging on about. It wasn't until I got older I appreciated just how entertaining this man is. And in all honesty, when he passes away, that'll be such a sad day, because I've grown up watching him. That'll be a very sad day. I didn't know I was windswept and interesting until somebody told me. It was a friend who was startlingly exotic himself. He'd just come back from Kashmir and was all billowy shirt and Indian beads. I had a long shirt, so I had long hair and a beard and was swishing around in electric blue flares. He said, "Look at you, all windswept and interesting." I just said, "Exactly." After that, I simply had to maintain my reputation. Bloody hell, let me get this right. I listened to an audio book of his last book, which was funny stories that he had to tell. It wasn't an autobiography, it was just stories. And then I had a previous book wrote by his wife about him. I've not read this one or heard this one, so I'm looking forward to getting round to this one. And the last one, possibly the one I'm most looking forward to. I didn't know this even existed until about 2 weeks before Christmas. And this is Jeremy Clarkson's Diddly Squat, A Year on the Farm. So, we've had Amazon Prime on and off over the last couple of years, for most of that time. And I'd heard a little bit about this. Jeremy Clarkson, he had a farm, and he'd done a documentary about it. So I put it on for me and the missus. Didn't think she'd really like it, and we absolutely loved it. It was so funny. I didn't know though he'd wrote a book about it, but my missus did. And I mentioned one day, "Oh, he's got a book out. I wouldn't mind that for Christmas. I'll buy it myself." She said, "Shut up." I thought, "Why?" She said, just forget it." I was like, "Oh, right, bloody hell." She already had it for me. She'd bought it a month earlier. So this is A Year on the Farm, Diddly Squat, which is the name of the farm. Let's go to the back a bit. Oh no, it is in here, sorry, my bad. It's an idyllic spot offering picturesque views across the Cotswolds, bustling hedgerows, woodlands and natural springs. Jeremy always liked the idea of being a farmer, but while he was barrelling around the world, having more fun with cars than was entirely reasonable, it seemed obvious that the actual, farming was much better left to someone else. Then one day he decided he would do the farming himself. After all, how hard could it be? Well, faced with suffocating red tape, biblical weather, local objections, a global pandemic and his own, frankly staggering ignorance of how to do farming, Jeremy soon realises that turning the farm around is going to take more than splashing out on a massive tractor. Fortunately, there's help at hand from a large and mostly willing team, including girlfriend Lisa, Caleb the tractor driver, cheerful Charlie, Ellen the shepherd, and Gerald, his head of security and Drystone Waller. If you've seen the documentary, you'll remember Gerald.